we will be sending you a recording. If you have any questions, make sure and ask them along the way. I do see that we've got one in the chat box now. And then we will be sending you the recording and then an exit survey at the end. Lynn, did we lose the PowerPoint?
Yes, you lost the PowerPoint.
Okay. Now it's back. Is it back?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we're going to launch a poll real quick because I want to know who you guys are. And I will tell you right now, I didn't anticipating having youth on this call. So if you're a youth, I saw you guys. So next time I'll make sure and put, are you a youth yourself? But please answer as many of these as apply to you, because I know you may be an administrator or you may work in direct service, both of those, because I've done that many times. Okay, we've got about 40% of the vote, so I'm going to give you just a few more seconds. Okay, that is everyone. So here are our results. So it looks like we have mostly direct service, some administration, and people working in the home with youth. So great. I love that. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so here are the big 7 reasons that we want to teach youth leadership and youth entrepreneurship, and we're going to go into these in more detail, but I want you just to take a high level look at this. And like I said, you know, these are not just connected to money, but they're all of the elements you see there. So let's jump into the very first one. So of course, economic empowerment is the ability for those who have disadvantaged experiences to engage in economic activities that benefit both the individual and the broader community and society. By empowering individuals to become economically or financially self-sufficient, they are removed from a passive place of receiving benefit or money. So, you know, when I think about as we grow up and we're children and our parents provide money for us and provide different things for us, this is a way for a young person to completely take their financial future into their hands and learn even in their youth that they can do that. So our data is showing us right now that this generation under 25 has the ability to break the cycle of poverty and become economically sustainable if they choose to do things such as entrepreneurship. So an entrepreneurial mindset is a way of thinking that enables the youth to overcome challenges, to be decisive, to accept responsibility for their own outcomes. And it's really a constant need to improve skills, to learn from their mistakes, and to take actions on their ideas. So as we talked about before, things like creativity, tenacity, curiosity, flexibility, and self-motivation are keys to entrepreneurship. So the next one is improved academic performance. So this is one that, you know, a lot of people often don't see, but if you think about business and teaching the idea of business to a young person, there's so much that they have to do. So we teach a curriculum called the Side Hustle. And so in this curriculum, there's a lot of math, and it's pretty basic, simple math, but they're doing, you know, things such as research skills. So they're doing some market research in these things. And we know as young people are are excited or engaged in an area of their life, we start to see that flow over to school attendance. We start to see them be more engaged with their grades. So think about at this point in development, if you are a youth development specialist, I'm sure you know that the age that the now I can't even say the word, prefrontal cortex, there we go, develops, and they have logical thinking is now 25 versus it was 18 10 years ago. And all of those skills that come with that development are those analyzing, those critical thinking. But we can actually stimulate those earlier with things like entrepreneurship, because that actually teaches them how to do that and gets that brain moving. The next thing is problem solving. So we talked a minute ago about the jobs of today are not necessarily the jobs of tomorrow. I think we've all learned that with the pandemic, because none of us thought we could really work 100% remotely, but it's happened. So let's look at each of these things and see how they connect to entrepreneurship. Of course, innovation is a big one. So it's that effective process of producing ideas, creating new ideas, having iterations of something that maybe didn't work exactly right, and adapting it. So this means, teaching a young person how to implement new ideas, not only in the framework of money, but in the framework of their life. So creating dynamic projects or products, or creating new systems or new ways in their lives. So decision making is a big one with our youth. As we look at the decision making framework, we often talk about how a young person makes decisions. And we're going to dive into this just a little bit more after our next activity. But, we see our youth making quick decisions because that's what's in their brain. It's not that same decision-making process that we have as adults. But when you teach a young person a completely new decision-making process and framework, and they actually start using it in entrepreneurship and then other areas of their life, it really impacts them. So the next one is that unpredictability. And when I think about that, I think about the risk and protective factors. I don't know what you guys use for a framework for your how you implement your curriculum, but we know, there's several models of youth development around how to help a young person thrive. So we have the 40 developmental outcomes. We have the risk and protective factors through SAMHSA. And one of the things that I love when we look at youth entrepreneurship is how unpredictability actually feeds into a young person learning resilience. So, as an entrepreneur, we see people that their daily routine is never a daily routine. There's something new all the time happening, and things are unpredictable. So they really learn how to adapt and be resilient.
Hey, Camille, you have a question that came up in the chat, and I thought you might want to just go ahead and address that.
Let's do it, because we've got an activity.
Okay, so do you have access to the chat, or do I need to read it to you?
No, I've got it. Let me pull it up real quick. Let me get over there to it. Okay. So yes, 12 to 14-year-olds, absolutely. So I will tell you, so I've taught on reservation, and even here in Oklahoma, 12 years old is about where you want to start. And I will tell you that if you're talking about a 12 to 14-year-old, we're really talking about planting the seeds and helping them think in a certain way. But we have seen young people build businesses out of this. I think about a time when we were at the Nez Perce tribe, and we had a young man who actually had the greatest idea ever. And he created a little business called Res Dogs Rescue, because they had a lot of stray dogs on the reservation. And so he brought the dogs into his family for about a week, cleaned them up, made them presentable, and then sold them on his mother's Facebook page for $5 a dog. I mean, he had a whole business plan that was fabulous. So sometimes when we're talking about that younger age, we're talking about, you know, it's the idea that they really start thinking in that direction, and they may do something small. Now, if you're up to 24 years old, I mean, this is full blown. We have young people start businesses and do all sorts of things. Last summer, we did our program virtually with the Yurok tribe, and they had multiple departments on this training. And we had a young man who made salmon nets. And, you know, it's one of those great things that have been traditionally passed down, but a lot of the elders could no longer make their own nets. And so before this young man got off of our call, he had jobs lined up. And so it was going to become, you know, he had just launched his business right there. And there were actually people like administrators in the tribe that wanted to hire him to teach other people in the tribe. So it really just depends. You know, everyone is developmentally different. There could be a 12-year-old, because there was a 12-year-old that I taught in Nowata a couple of years ago, that she already had a business running with her mom. Bryn, you may remember who that young lady is. I don't remember her name, but she made corn bags. So they put corn in sewed bags and actually sold them. You know, you could heat them up and put them on your shoulders, and her mother had been doing that. So, you know, it is for 12 to 24-year-olds, definitely. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to take about 3 minutes, and we're going to just make some decisions, because we're going to look at how we make decisions versus how a young person may make decisions today. So I'm going to send you guys into a breakout room in just a minute. I need you to either take a screenshot or a picture of this slide. So for the next 3 to 4 minutes, we're going to go mountaineering. And we are taking the trip of up the mountain. It's about a 5,000 feet increase in elevation. We're going to start at sunrise because it's about 5 miles up and 5 miles down. And we're hoping to do it in one day. I mean, we think we can. We've done this sometimes before. You've got a couple people that have. But I need you guys to decide, out of these 10 items, what are the most important 5 items on this list, okay? So I'm going to put you into some breakout groups, and I would love for you to talk. Lynn, I don't have breakout groups.
Okay, let me see.
On mine, so I'll have to have you do it.
Okay, no problem. Does everyone, do we need to have people write down, if they have pen and paper, to write down this list?
Yeah, take a screenshot, or yeah, I ask them to take a screenshot or a picture. And so you're just going to talk for 3 or 4 minutes about what are the 5 most important, and then make someone your spokesperson, because I want them to come back and put in the chat what the 5 most important that you came up with are. All right, with that, okay. Lynn, we can send them out. On there, I didn't see you either. I love it when people take a while to come back, because that means they're still talking, and I love that. All right, so as you come back, if you will put in the chat what 5 items you came up with that are most important, that would be great so we can see what you came up with. If you happen to work with youth virtually, these breakout rooms are really amazing to do activities in. I would suggest you, if you can, put a intern or an adult in each of them to keep things rolling, because if not, sometimes it gets a little stagnant in there. All right, anything in the chat yet? Has anybody put their 5 in there? Oh, we've got someone. Group 2. Hi, Melody. I saw your name. Didn't have a chance to say hi. Fire starter, extra water, navigation, knife, shelter. That's great. Any other groups want to chime in and tell us what they thought? Well, if you're typing and putting it in, I want to tell you guys, oh, there we go. Water, sun protection, knife, navigation, first aid. Great answers. So you guys keep typing if you're answering. I want to tell you guys all that no matter what you chose, you were right, because according to REI, that you need all 10 of these to take. So if you chose any 5, you did great. But I want you to think about your processing as an adult of how you figured this out. And so right now, we know from a research base that our youth do a couple different things. Number one, they turn to Google to figure things out, which isn't teaching them critical thinking. It's teaching them to be reliant on someone else's brain. And then they reach out to their peers. And we know all sorts of information they get from their peers. It's not always accurate or the best. Sometimes it is. But, just to point out, activities like this, if we were doing this with the youth, we would come back and really talk about that critical thinking process and put a framework there to help them learn how to navigate through this. So thank you guys. Oh, extra water, first aid kit, navigation, sun protection, and knife. Good answers, everybody. Everybody did great. So thank you for participating. Okay, another thing that they learn are interpersonal skills. We know that listening is so important. 70% of our day is communication in some point. About 45% of that is listening. And if we're not taught to listen, a lot of times we're not great listeners. 2 years ago, I took my 15-year-old son on the road with me when I trained. And one night after training, he said to me, "Mom, you are not a great listener. You listen to the front of what people say, but you don't follow it all the way to the end." And the next day, I caught myself doing that. So, if we don't have that active listening taught to us, a lot of times we just don't even realize we're not doing it. So next, think about persuasion. Our young people sell things through fundraisers, through school and civic organizations, and it's so hard not to buy from a young person. But what if they're taught sales skills and persuasion skills as a young person? The last one I want to hit on this is conflict management and resolving conflict, simply because I experienced something in a store this last week, excuse me, that a young man was at the register and someone's check would not go through. So he was checking, he was the cashier, and an older lady's check was being bounced back, and he didn't know how to deal with it. And I watched him, and I could see that he had not been taught how to resolve conflict in a positive way. And at one point, I literally thought I was going to have to get between them because it got so bad. But luckily, another employee walked up and took care of it. But, our young people do not necessarily see positive conflict resolution in the world today. So this is a great time to teach them these things through entrepreneurship. So we know money management, but as we teach entrepreneurship, and I'm going to show you guys in a minute the 10 elements of what we teach in this curriculum, but budgeting, we know that's important whether you have $5 a week or $500 a week. We know that credits and loans are important because many times on reservations or right outside of reservations, we see predatory loans places, and our young people do not understand the how expensive a high interest loan is. And then learning to save for the future. Even when you have the smallest amount of money, being able to put money back so that you can have what you want in life. So this one is probably my very favorite, because if we can actually instill in a young person the idea that they can do what they want to do, they can dare, they can dream. When I was in Arizona teaching a group of young people, I had a young man just really get frustrated with me. And he said, "You don't know who we are. Apparently, you don't know what's going on here." And we ended up doing a lot of activities because I wanted to help this young man in the group step outside of the box that they were living in. And we got there. But when we're living in circumstances or situations, we may not always see outside of where we are today because we're in survival mode, but we can help youth step outside of that. And entrepreneurship and leadership, of course, does that. Job readiness. So if you are a young person who learns entrepreneurial skills, you may not ever open your own business. And really that's okay. Whether you open your own business, you take these skills and you apply them to your life, or you apply them to someone else's business, that's really great. So my son, who's 17 and he works for an ice cream place, can tell you their profit margin on their ice cream. He can tell you how things are ran. And it's probably because I have, taught him this, and he's traveled with me and he's taught this himself. But, I remember being 17 and I didn't know anything about business. I was a waitress for years and I had no idea. I had never been exposed to this, to even think this way. So this, opens doors. And think about time management and teaching a young person a work ethic and being able to communicate with everyone in every walk of life. So here are the 10 elements of youth entrepreneurship that we teach. And so as we move forward with this series, this will be a series after today. So today was just the high level, hey, this is why this is so important for us to teach. And then the next 10 months, we'll be teaching these classes. If you join us every month, then you're going to walk away with what you need to teach. So worksheets to work with your young people, activities that you can do to help them walk through things, and pretty much what you need so that you can teach this to whoever it is you're working with. So I have pulled this from a couple different curriculums. So like I said before, we have something called the Side Hustle, and it's a curriculum that is inspired from Chris Guillebeau's book called Side Hustle, Idea to Business in 27 Days. And then also the Building Native Communities, their youth series. So they have a great program that is designed just for young people. And it has a lot of these things in it. So we'll be pulling from those two tools, and every single month you will get everything you need to actually build a full curriculum and teach your young people. Now I understand that you may do this once a month. If you want something before that, we actually teach this curriculum online and in person. So we could talk about that a little bit more too. But before we move on, just put this on your calendar. April 29th, we will be doing the budget and money management. and it's 100% from the place of a young person. It's not, adult money management where we're going to be talking about necessarily paying the mortgage and all of those things. So I mentioned just a minute ago about our services. So before we jump into questions, let me tell you a little bit about what we do. So I explained to you that we're the IDRS Acorn Project, and we do small business development, and one of our main projects is youth. So we can assist your organization with virtual or online training. And depending on where you're at, whether you are grant driven, whether you have funds for youth programming, we work with everyone of every budget. And so if you have 2 days, if you have a day, if you have an entire week, last summer we worked with the Yurok tribe and did a week with their summer work program to teach them all of those 10 items, and they walked away with business plans, and it was phenomenal. So just so you know, that's available to you if you don't want to, wait around for 10 months to get all of these things pulled together. So do we have any questions? Any questions on the series or the program? I'll wait just a second and see if any come in. Melody, it looks like you're typing. And you guys
you know me, Camille, I'm always going to ask a question. So can anyone start the series? Can they attend? They didn't have to attend this meeting?
Oh, no. So
okay.
Each of the meetings are standalone. So if you want to, for instance, if you have a youth program and you just want to do budgeting, jump in the budget.
Okay.
So we'll advertise them, and you can jump in as many as you want, or as little as you want. If you happen to have a youth organization and you want one particular program taught, and you want someone else to teach it, reach out to me, because I have everything built out. We can do an hour, we can do whatever, and that would be good too. That would be fun.
Yes. Okay, great. Yes, I will definitely do that. Thank you.
Melody, have you taught any of the youth BNC yet?
We did, and I'm a trainer there, and I went last March, a week before the shutdown. I was in Colorado doing a train the trainers there. So, and that was their new curriculum that they had just rolled out for the youth. So, but before that, so for 5 years, I've been teaching for the adult curriculum. So yeah, so we've been doing that, but I would really like to make it more specific to youth, like what you're talking about, because we do youth employment program this summer, and last summer and this summer we're going to do the Zoom workshops, and all the job readiness workshops.
So after we attended that training last year, I came home and built out everything for that, because the training is great, but you still have to do a lot of work after that to build out each of those sections.
Yes. Oh, good. I'm glad you did that. So I'm so going to be there for that, because I really think that's an important component of job readiness for the youth is money management. So thank you. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
You do have one in the chat, Camille.
Okay. Yeah, so we would love to have youth join. And like I said, if you have a specific something that you want youth to learn, of any of those 10 elements or something else, we'll be happy to provide that. And we'll be happy to provide a more youth focused, if that's what you're looking for, rather than because what I'm teaching is from a participation place. Like, you would be able to take what I'm teaching and go in and implement it yourself. But if you're wanting direct service for youth, then reach out and we'll be happy to help you with that. I'm going to stick my email in the chat. but you will be getting you'll be getting an email from me with a copy of the recording and everything you need. Thank you, Bryn. All right, I don't see any other questions, Lynn.
No, I don't either. Okay.
Thank you guys for coming. I'm gonna show you, just do one more thing real quick. Let's see, we've got an interesting thing. I've got one more slide I wanted to show you, but it's not coming up. We're good. Okay. Like we mentioned before, IDRS Acorn Project, in that email, I'll make sure include where you can go for future trainings. And if you need any technical assistance help or help with your youth, please let us know. Thank you so much and have a good afternoon.
Bye, Camille.
Bye-bye. It was nice to see you, Melody.
You too. And you too, Lynn. Thank you.
You too, Melody.